Mike, check. Justin Hunt, it's all happening. Thank you to everybody rocking with the channel. Thank you to everyone who subscribed to the channel, everyone who's donated to the channel, and big thank you to all my newest members. Part-time nerd, Manipulator 3216, Joe Bags 40, Mr. Walt, T16 Marketing, Virtuoso, Irene F, Catrice Aro, WTF Quaco, ALX, Tallulah Diamondoids, I hope I got that right, third time's a charm, Grammar, JT, Make 'em Pay 87, LS, Quandale Dingle Barnacle Jones, Quandale Dingle, I love that, Trayvon, Vazio Inc., B Monique, Super Sick 57, Kelukani Magubane with the Ria, Serena May, Dexa Nation Gracie, 9-second applause. It's all happening. I appreciate you guys. Now, you guys who rock with this channel on a regular basis know that usually that's one video and then I move on. But there's been such a surge in people joining the community that, you know, I want to make sure everyone gets the same level of appreciation that I really do have for each of you guys. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, story number two. So one thing, so story number one, block one, I just did a reaction to the Joey Badass video. Okay. Now I have a lot more thoughts on that, to be honest. I mean, enough for a full breakdown. And I'm definitely going to be watching this particular story because I think there is something more macro from a breakdown perspective that I can tackle. So I'm watching it now. I'm not going to do a full breakdown just yet, but it's in my mind. But a lot of the things and thoughts that I had around this, Read My Soul perfectly captured in his video called My Problem with Joey Badass, The Ruler's Back. He captured so much of what I felt. Now, Read My Soul is one of my favorite YouTube channels. Definitely join his channel. And his channel is focused on hip hop, video games, and sneakers. And so he does a lot of really great videos, really genuine dude, family man. And I just really appreciate his perspective and his content. And so I watched his video on Joey Badass, The Ruler's Back today. Okay. I'm like, dog, Reed, get out my head, man. Reed is in my mind because he hit the nail on the head. And what a lot of people might not know is that, I guess maybe some of you who have watched my channel enough, notice that when I talk about where I'm from, it's kind of really hard to place it. I grew up in the South, right? I grew up in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia for most of my life, right? 5 to 6 years in each one of those cities, or states rather. And but both of my parents are from Brooklyn, and I lived in Brooklyn after I graduated college for 10 years, right? And so, but I was there all the time growing up because I have a ton of family in New York City, in different parts of New York City. And then I was born in Newark, New Jersey. So, and I've been out on the West Coast for a decade too. So 1 second applause for all the wonderful places I've lived, right? And so Reed, he's from New York. And a lot of the things that he saw growing up in New York were happening when I lived in New York. And so let's pay attention to the problem with Joey Badass, The Ruler's Back. This is great.
So gather on in, children. It is a new year, and Joey Badass said he's here. He is ready to compete. He is taking on all challengers. The talk around the water cooler in hip-hop is the freestyle released on January 1st by Joey Badass called The Ruler's Back.
Got mirrors in my city. Nomination. This for every time they left me out the conversation.
Now, some people are saying he's paying homage to Jay-Z. Some people are saying he's taking shots at Kendrick. Some people are saying he's just being competitive. Hip-hop is a competitive sport.
I think it's all three. I honestly think it's all three. And I think all three can be there. You know, I mean, he ran them down. We just talked about it. I think it's all three, and I think that part's dope.
Now, as a native New Yorker, I got to call Joey out on this because the line that has everybody talking is
too much West Coast.
Which it is a Jay-Z line from the song 22 Twos, one of Jay-Z's best songs in my opinion.
Too much West Coast licking.
Now, me personally, I have to call Joey out because I'm a Joey Badass fan, but Joey has not been giving us enough music. Joey.
Big facts. Big facts. He already starting off. Read My Soul. Already. Speaking for the zeitgeist. 1 second applause.
giving us enough music. Joey breakout mixtape was in 2012, 1999. I don't really hear people talk about the next few projects as much, but we got to give him his credit because he released 1999 and 2012. He released Rejects in 2012. He released Rejects 2 in 2013 and Summer Nights in 2013. I don't hear very many people talk about those projects. If you ask me, they were decent. He was very young and he was still trying to find his sound. He released 1999 and he was still in high school. We got to give him some credit.
That's an apt description too. I mean, people don't understand how much younger than a lot of people, truthfully, he was compared to. He really is. Like he's got to be 30. I guess he's probably 30 now. You know, but he was still in those conversations with Kendrick and Drake and J. Cole and A$AP Rocky and the movements that were happening. Like Joey had a lot of love and was way younger.
Actual releases, his studio albums, he released Before the Money in 2015, All American Badass, which I think is a classic. I think Before the Money is definitely dope.
Crazy. And that's the other thing about Joey Badass. Like musically, the rate he was growing was impressive. We had very high expectations for Joey Badass musically. Very high expectations. Because he was doing all the right stuff. And especially in comparison to A$AP Mob, he embraced a quintessential New York sound that was appreciated in a different kind of way. A$AP truthfully had, especially A$AP Rocky, he had truthfully had a lot of criticism because of him using a lot of Houston sounds or Bone Thugs and Harmony styles. You know what I mean? But I agree with Read My Soul's assessment right here.
The Money is definitely dope, but All American Badass is definitely a classic. And then he released the 2000 project in 2022. And then he dropped the EP called The Light Pack during the pandemic, which was in 2020. I gotta call Joey out on this because the real problem here is that the East Coast, more specifically New York, has not been competing. And I mean New York City, because if you look at New York City, you can tell where the energy has gone. There's no energy in the city anymore. The energy in the city is dead. And I think that's the reason why we've only been giving you mediocre gimmicky rapping. We haven't been giving anybody with some substance. And
the energy is shifted, and that's why New York has been given mediocre gimmicky rap. 1 second applause. 1 second applause. Now, the thing I like about Read My Soul's videos is he's also really good at connecting the macro to the micro, right? One of my favorite videos, which I've talked about on this channel, is him talking about the lost generation. The lost generation. And one of the things I hear is, man, how come we're not talking about, there's got to be, who's the next big three? How come we're not talking about these other MCs, etc.? Well, there's a whole lost generation that I think you go from Mac Miller to Nipsey Hussle, Juice WRLD, Pop Smoke, Young Dolph, XXXTentacion. You go down the list, and really the biggest next contenders, sadly, are no longer with us. He was one of the first people I saw point that out in a video, and that really opened my mind. And he's about to do it again with New York. He's about to do it again in New York.
All time, unless you go to Buffalo, unless you go to Rochester. Shout out to Griselda. Shout out to 38 Special. So if you look at the city ain't been giving you that energy for a very long time. And it's because, like Joey said,
Moved out the city, copped the house in the sticks.
That's what everybody from New York has done. The energy in New York has moved away. It's too expensive.
Moved out the city, copped a house in the sticks is the first thing Joey Badass says. And Read My Soul is like, yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem.
Has done. The energy in New York has moved away. It's too expensive. It's not the same it once was. When I was growing up in New York, I remember going to 125th and going to the Magic Johnson Theater and the energy around it, going to the movie theater on 161 in the Bronx and them having all the little pictures, the little setups with the pictures. You could take the pictures. I remember going to Skate Key growing up. You get what I'm saying? Shout out to Skate Key. If you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about.
1 second applause for Skate Key.
Bro, you don't go to 125th Street no more, and it's not the same. You used to go to 125th Street. They had the CDs, the DVDs, the oil guys. Now some of those people are still out there, but the energy is not the same. You used to go out there, take pictures. There used to be like little photo opportunities. We all did it. If you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about.
And they all had now Harlem, especially 125th, looks like it's like 3-wheel strollers. It's like white ladies jogging with 3-wheel strollers. It's moving in a mini Times Square with less lights. And it's just one example of what's happening across the city.
opportunities. We all did it. If you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about. So I gotta call Joey out because the reason why New York is dead is because people like him ain't really competing no more. So for him to come out and say,
the reason New York is dead is because too many people like him ain't competing no more. Ain't competing no more. 1 second applause.
Him to come out and say, yo, too many people are riding the D of the West Coast. It's like, well, we doing that because we can't get our hits off of you. We can't get our fix. We fiends.
Do you know why you're here?
I'm here for the same reason you is, man. I want some crack.
I know I'm a rap fiend. I'm a hip hop head fiend. I love this. If I can't get my hit off of where I'm from, I'm gonna go somewhere else. And I ain't gonna lie. The West Coast been holding it down. Ab Soul has been one of my favorite rappers. Schoolboy Q has been one of my favorite rappers. The West Side Boogie's been one of my favorite rappers. Kendrick Lamar's been one of my favorite rappers because they've been giving you consistent music. If you ask me, Everything for Sale is one of the best albums that released. I think that was 2018. Shout out to Everything for Sale by West Side Boogie. Amazing project. Deep bars, conceptual, deep dope. New York ain't been giving us that. We've been giving gimmick after gimmick after gimmick.
True that. True. I mean, I like Scarlett too. I like her social media movement more than anything else, but marketed like a gimmick.
Scarlett, fuck out of here.
Tekashi, Ice Spice.
Both of them. I was shocked. I mean, I went through, sometimes you got to get to a point of acceptance. That's how like my last 10 years of New York rap has been. Just getting to a point of acceptance. Don't get me wrong, there is a ton of incredible MCs in New York. Tons of them. But a lot of times they get stifled, and they definitely have not been what has been pushed from the labels when it comes to New York. New York has been very reactionary. And 6ix9ine and Ice Spice? Crazy as gimmick. I'm surprised more people didn't come at them or call them out. Because you could look at both of them and tell, oh, they probably got a good 18, 19 months. Both of them look like that.
Spice. What's going on with Don Q? What's going on with A Boogie and the Hoodie? He was supposed to be next up. A lot of New York really ain't right, man. And I gotta call Joey out on it because you haven't been giving us our hits, bro. You haven't been giving me my fix, bro. I had to go get my hit off a dope of somebody else. So I gotta call Joey out with that because he should have been the one holding New York down. And because he hasn't, New York is last place. New York is not even in a conversation year after year. There's nothing that New York does that has put them in the conversation.
Nothing, not even in the conversation. Yo, for the past 10 years, I mean, it's been forced. Now, one thing that from a macro standpoint that's happening is rap is older, right? So you have people staying around longer. Now, because of that, you also have more hit makers. A lot of these guys are hit makers, been hit makers their whole career. So as things have moved over into a super fan environment, their bases have gotten louder and more vocal. The industry itself has moved more into a super fan environment where they focus on the people with the biggest audiences. There's not really a middle class in the music industry anymore. And I think that works to not only New York's detriment, but to a lot of regional sounds detriment, which is one of the reasons why I'm really excited about the competition level that GNX offers in this battle, but also Kendrick going into a regional sound and finding success. I would like to hear more of that, right? But not even in the conversation, New York. I just did a video the other week with Joey Badass and Method Man that Billboard put up, and they were going through New York anthems. And I was saying a lot of the same stuff there. It's a travesty. New York has given up its sound. Even the biggest artists coming out of New York the past, probably since Joey Badass, actually, there's no one reviving it. But that's not the only issue, and Read My Soul gets there.
Thing that New York does that has put them in the conversation. Nothing. Memphis is in the conversation right now. Glorilla, Dolph was out, Moneybagg Yo. So much coming out of Memphis, so much coming out the South. You get what I'm saying? Even New York is copying Chicago drill.
And the New York drill is Chicago drill, but it takes London drill beats, basically. I think if Pop Smoke is here, it's a totally different energy with that. Because he truly was doing some 50 Cent type connection, energy-wise, right? But it's still London drill / Chicago drill.
It don't have its sound no more. And that's one thing else I wanted to talk about. I'm not a fan of the Conductor Williams beats because it feels as though it doesn't feel fresh. I feel like New York is caught up in constantly trying to reheat old French fries.
Look at that. 1 second of pause. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know if he knew that was a bar. That seems like a transition. You know, like all my favorite rappers are really great at putting like their punchlines. Their punchlines are transitions, right? Where it's not even like most people would build up to that. That was just a transition to get to another point. That is the other side of that, and that is a big criticism that my Jedi masters, when I was a Padawan, my cousin Shah, his generation, when they're telling me what's dope and what's not, growing up and impressed upon me originality and doing something new, something fresh, something different. One of the things that he had been critical of, not maybe less so now, but definitely during the teens, when it came to a lot of new artists, especially when I showed him Joey Badass or I showed him J. Cole at that time or whoever, he was really put off by how it felt like everybody was just doing the same old things, forcing him to compare whatever these new artists are doing to the legends of that era, the guys who defined it, right? And so he was always really reserved. He always had to step back in terms of talking about whether these guys were dope or not, because he is big on imagination. And it's not as imaginative to him if he's heard where it's come from and someone's doing it again, right? And so Read My Soul is tapping into that same conversation. As fire as Conductor Williams is, or as fire as everything Griselda and them are doing, is like that, and how necessary what they're doing is. If there is a critique, the critique is trying to reheat old French fries. They do a great job. But where's the progression?
And it's lost its way because it's been told that it has a specific sound, and it's that Conductor Williams, Havoc, production, Alchemist type beats. When I personally think, if you look at New York, it's always been verse. It's always been versatile. You had Jay-Z, some of his best songs is Chicago production with Kanye West, Just Blaze. If you listen to DMX had a very different sound. Swizz Beatz had a very different sound. Timbaland had a very different sound and gave different artists different sounds. I feel like New York, they try to get on these Conductor Williams beats and do what Benny the Butcher and them are doing. New York was verse. New York had all different types of styles, and I think New York has lost its way. And Joey, don't get me wrong, I think the beat was dope. I love the sample, and I love the feeling of it, but that's the problem with New York. It keeps trying to adapt to a specific sound, and I feel as though it's getting lost in the conversation because it's not trying anything new. It's trying to keep reinventing the boom bap sound, keep trying to give you that gritty sound, and I just don't think, for one, New York don't have that no more.
This is the macro. This is the macro coming up here. Recreating that gritty New York boom bap sound when New York doesn't have that anymore. Not in the same way. He's about to break it down. This is dope.
But most people from New York don't live in New York no more. They live in New Jersey. They moved upstate. They moved to Long Island. They moved to a better environment. They moved down south. I know a lot of people who don't live in New York. They moved to the West. A couple of my friends, they moved to the West, moved down south. New York don't have that energy no more. So keep trying to recreate it. It's not really going to work because New York people, I hate to say it, New York people going to go with whatever's hot.
Right. And so the thing about that is that's happening everywhere. And I personally think that there might be a connection as to why the regional sounds have gone away. I think it's much more than invisible lever pullers in the music industry, et cetera. This is we've been experiencing population movement. The population economics are evolving. And all the cities are turning real European, where that's where the most expensive things are, where the richest people live. And they're pushing everybody out to the suburbs. It's reverse white flight. Right, the suburbs were created so white people can get away from immigration. They get away from diversity. Okay, so they can get away from all these, black people from the South moving to the cities for a better life. So they created suburbs. They pulled up a bunch of train tracks, made it difficult for public transportation to even get there. And then over the past 25 years, we've had a return of the opposite, especially with the internet. Right, so we've had people moving into cities and because they want to have an easier commute, right? Or they want to have, a faster paced lifestyle or something a little bit more dynamic. And because of that, you have a bunch of people moving into these cities, pushing the people who were truly marginalized young people, artsy communities, a combination of which is where you get most of the great art movements of the past century, right? And so for that to continue, I think we have to look outside in the suburbs for a lot of innovation, but you can do this with every city. You can do this with Atlanta. You can do it with LA. right? You can do it with Greenville, South Carolina. Okay. You can do this with a lot of different cities. And it's something that is bigger. And Atlanta, oh my God, I can't think of her name right now. But that song, Not Atlanta, well, everybody's moved out of Atlanta. So the next genre of music is, I don't think in general for any of these regions, is going to represent the sound coming out of these cities in previous eras. I think it's going to be more of a whatever happens in these counties or these surrounding smaller towns that are around all the cities, because we have a demographic shift that is taking place in every major city in America because we are turning into Europe in a lot of ways.
Whatever's hot. We always been that way, low key, especially since I was young. Maybe the old heads was always New York biased, but a lot of the young people in New York, they gonna go with what's hot. And as we keep adapting to other people's sound, that's only gonna diminish New York's legacy. I gotta call Joey Badass out on this, man. The reason why New York is in last place and people getting a fix from the West is because people like yourself are not competing. And it's sad to see where New York is at. So my question to you is Joey being messy? Is Joey being competitive? Is Joey paying homage to Jay-Z? I personally think Joey need to get in the booth and give us some music. This is worse than Kendrick. People always talk about
this is worse than Kendrick. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is Joey Badass discography. 3 albums, 3 studio albums, 15, 17, and 22. Now he took a 5-year break too. Before he came out with 2000, he took a 5-year break. Same 5-year break Kendrick did. Same 5-year break Kendrick did. He took the same thing. Joey Badass just came back and said, the rule is back. Where you going, Reed? I got to see this.
This is worse than Kendrick. People always talking about Kendrick Lamar don't give us no music, but as superior as a rapper Joey is, to only have 3 major projects, 3 major studio albums with the EP, that's 4 projects, plus 1999, that's 5 projects. Nobody talk about Rejects 1, Rejects 2, and Summer Nights like that. In 13 years, we only got 8 projects from him, 3 major projects in 8 years. So Joey need to get in the booth. Joey need to give us music. I know he doing a real good job as Unique. Shout out to Raising Kanan. I personally think that's the best spinoffs out of all the Power, and low key might be better than the real Power. The actress who plays Raquel and Jukebox and Unique. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good. Don't get me wrong. Unique is a really good character. The Raising Kanan is one of my favorite ones. But yeah, man, Joey got to get in that booth, man. Joey got to compete, because it's his fault why people go in other places. But you know, what say you? Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Is New York back? Is Joey back? Is Kendrick gonna respond? Or other people? Is this what 2025 is? Are we just gonna see WWE and hip hop for the next year? I don't know, man. I don't know. But like I said, I had to call Joey out on it because New York ain't been delivering, man.
New York ain't been delivering. 1 second applause. Shout out to Read My Soul to answer some of his questions. What I think, I don't think you're going to see, if it does turn to a battle royale, I don't think it looks anything like what happened last year. Okay, that situation had animosity from every angle. It might have caused a lot of animosity from more angles than people are talking about, to be honest. 2, I don't think this means New York is back at all. I think this means New York has a champion, someone who is championing New York. And I like that. And I hope more people from New York follow this lead. Not necessarily going at a West Coast particularly, but representing for New York. Representing for the stuff that New York brought to this. The competition aspect of it. The cultural, the whole thing. New York brought the whole thing, okay? Someone represent for that, please. Please. You know, and 3, Joey Badass, as much as I'm as happy as I am to see him stand up and present himself as the flag bearer. As much as I love that, Joey Badass, his catalog doesn't add up enough for Kendrick to go at him, in my opinion. Now, what I think we will see more of is, I definitely know that cats from the West Coast are going to respond. I had some very interesting phone calls the past 24 hours. I'll tell you that. And I don't think it's going to come from, you know, people necessarily, the most public-facing people right now. But I definitely think that a lot of cats on the rise, you're going to see, they're going to take this opportunity to share how lyrically talented they are as well. And so all of that to me is wild exciting. I love this video by Read My Soul. Check him out. Give him a subscribe. I really appreciate everything he said because like I mentioned earlier in this video, I have so many critiques for New York rap, the New York hip hop scene, and someone whose family, parents, and broader family are all from New York, and someone who lived there for 10 years and started multiple careers there, including this one, covering independent underground rap, which I did, running around with no reps, no relationships, and no reputation, trying to figure out how to make this all happen. A lot of what he's saying, I experienced, I could see coming in a lot of my coverage over the past 15 years. We could say that. And here we are. And so thank God, thank the universe, the stars have aligned to where we can have someone who is really championing the essence of New York, even if New York itself as a scene still has major problems it needs to figure out. But let me know what you think about all of this. My name is Justin Hunt. Like, subscribe to the channel, follow @The Company Man on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom happening. Systematical culture views us radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping them. Life through the lens of hip hop, from trip hop to yes, dog, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.